Oh, we're live in Costa Rica in the evening right now. It's currently 7:03 p.m. Wednesday, January 16th. I have no particular direction with the live show this evening, so what I think we should do is just the kind of usual, but this time we'll let you guys lead the conversation. So any thoughts, comments, questions you have below, we're going to kind of jump and pivot off that. We want to go over a few of the things that we've got lined up for the next few months as well. That way we can kind of share the story beforehand. It helps us kind of rough sketch out what the next little bit of time looks like together. So with that in mind, let's just take a look at the markets overall to start. So we dive into this sweet little gecko of coins here to take a look around for us. Bitcoin's price, again, a subtle drop, re-rise today in a little triangle, and then come back down very quickly. Nothing super exciting, but that's generally the part of the consolidation phase anyways. We know that we're going to consolidate sideways probably for a decent amount of time. So I would assume that, okay, when you look at the 15-minute chart on Bitcoin, everything tends to speed up, right? We're like, oh, look at this big spike we had, especially when we're zoomed in. I mean, this was a nice little run this morning. Again, and this looked very, very natural. I like seeing those natural buys. These straight up big peaks. We know that there are people acquiring Bitcoin. That's always been the case. So I think it's just healthy to see this consolidation during these bear market times, because we know that when we come back through these areas in the future, these are like the steps that we take back up and out. They are not just areas of support and resistance on our way down, they're how we leave that space again on the way back up, hopefully twice or three times higher. So on the 15-minute chart, I always like to zoom out and look at the daily to remind myself of those more abstract processes that take time. And it really gets okay, well, look, we're not entering a bull market anytime extremely quickly, but let's just take into account how brilliant 2018 was for the price movement. This is Ethereum here. I should have noticed by that long peaking downward line. But even for Ethereum, right, from just a few dollars to $1,500, 2018 was explosive. So this cool down period and consolidation, I think, is good for a lot of reasons. It's going to shake off any of the flack, and it's also going to build that really nice layer of business and philosophy together, which are always important in the way I think that things get done from an entrepreneurial standpoint. So on our way down to the $1,000 area, likely hit this $2,500 area first. This is the next key layer of your volume profile support. I suspect we'll bounce there. Now this is where it becomes, I guess, a bit more hard to time. Even though we might see low prices, how long we see $1,000, $1,200, $1,600 Bitcoin probably isn't that long if you're not on the trigger on the finger, or finger on the trigger. There we go. That's like a hot butter to knife type idea. A little dyslexic sometimes. Unless you've got your trigger finger ready, you are not going to be able to necessarily actualize those purchases. So having buy orders set before we get there is extremely helpful. I don't think it's a scenario that would last more than 24 to 48 hours. I believe it'll be a sharp V spike, maybe a week at most. But even still, if you get a week, that'd be an impressive amount of time before coming back up to the $2,500 area. And that's those stair steps down and up and out, I hope that we take over the next few years. So I guess that brings us a rough estimate of somewhere closer to 2020 to seeing any really bear market reversal signs, and at least noticeable ones. It could happen quicker than that, but with the downtrend in the economic system as a whole right now, other abstract things like we live in space, we live in a universe, in a society, on a planet, that all has abstract natures and qualities to the, I guess, experience of existence as well. So the next 20 to 50 years is going to be one wild ride. Now the next year, hopefully, is just nice bear market consolidation, not a whole lot of downtrend for anything particular, but that then brings us more, I think importantly, into paying attention to the global markets. So here we have the S&P 500 listed as SPY. This is a collection of a bunch of the countries, or sorry, a bunch of the companies in the country, United States, top 500, I believe. Anyways, the point of this is this downtrend here that we had into our A and B wave, if we don't break out of this support layer, which would generally require quantitative easing on a deeper level, which I don't think they're going to do yet, if they do at all, I do suspect they'll turn the printing press back on. I don't know what other options they have aside from raising interest rates, but both of those things are antithetical to what they said they were going to do, so they might not do anything at all and simply let the markets fall in the time being. There's a long ways down to go, so we just see how far ways down we can go. We start to realize how high this wave had been in the stock markets as well. You have from 1994 back here, 1993 January, from, let's say, I guess this is the open. No, this can't be the open of the S&P 500, is it? No, this is likely data that's restored. I guess TradingView doesn't always have the length of the stocks data, or the, I guess, index. This would be considered an index. Nonetheless, this big wave here still gives us a long ways down. So the first heavy area of support and resistance is actually around 127 points, which is 1,200 on the S&P 500. I do believe it is in the thousands, just showing this lower currently. Anyways, with that in mind, this is going to be a complex ride down. That doesn't bode well for the economy around the world either. But more importantly, what I think it does is actually provides a last dying breath for the United States dollar. How long that breath lasts, I'm not sure. But if the markets, theoretically, if the markets are falling, the majority of people don't realize yet how an amazing Bitcoin is, or blockchain. So it's not. I realize that there's different use cases for everything. The internet has a bunch of protocols running that use the same function. Anyways, the point of this is, I don't think people realize the solution or the remedy yet, because I don't yet think they will realize the problem, which is inherent in the fiat system, specifically not in the stock markets. So I believe the majority of the money that will move into the fiat space, because it's considered the stable coin of the last 40 years or something like this, that most people would recognize. Whereas Bitcoin is considered a highly speculative asset. So even if you have large scale institutions that want to play, they're going to be looking for very similar entry points, and they're going to be looking for these sharp V bottoms. So anyways, the point here is, I think we've probably got around a year and a half of bear market sentiments before we see the start of the reversal. Now that will be the noticing indicator, which again is somewhere above $8,500 to $11,000. That would be the key indicator that we have fully left a bear market. Because you could see spikes between 6,000 and back down, but it doesn't with the failing stock market. That, I believe, is going to push the energy that we'd want in this space into the fiat space, sadly. But again, it just makes the story the same. The bigger they come, the harder they fall. So when it falls, it'll be very, very noticeable. So it's not in everyone's best interest that it totally collapse. A total economic collapse around the world is going to bode nobody no well, aside from the fact that we should get rid of these systems to replace them with something better. So I think a big part of the question becomes, what do we want to do and how do we want to replace these systems? So I'm keeping a close eye on the S&P 500. Again, we've hit the 2,600 point mark that we had suspected. I don't think we're going to break out past that. We're going to see a nice C wave bringing us down, a corrective, probably 22 or 2020, something like this. And then from there, who knows, we could free fall all the way to 120. That would be when the media was actually saying that there was a recession somewhere near the bottom of that. That would be the first noticeable bounce. And there's a lot of support between 2001 and 2008, but that doesn't mean we can't. The system can be destroyed and wrecked. Again, I just don't know how well that bodes for everyone. So it's not exactly what I'm hoping or betting for. I'm hoping we find a smoother transition into using blockchain technology to replace a lot of the failing systems that we have. But that really comes down to, I think, a philosophical belief of the people that build in enterprise and corporate levels, because they generally if they're doing a good job, they care more. They really seem to. So anyways, that's my rant. There's the S&P 500. I did say at the beginning of this I wanted to ask and see where you guys wanted to go for the whole altcoin outlook. My key indicators here are between blockchain being a remittance structure at scale, which means I'm looking for it as the US dollar would be at scale, which is just astronomical. Everything else is speculation, but there's no sense to leave value on the table just because we're speculating. It's fun. Anyway, so we'll take a look at what you guys are asking, and then we'll go from there. Bill says, evening works well for podcasts. Nice, that's good. I tried to do the afternoon, and I think I'll try to do the afternoon again tomorrow. It's just so close to sunset, hanging out with friends. So I'm glad you guys like the early evening podcasts. We'll jump in from there. We've got a lineup of guests coming over the next little while now that I've gotten to be able to settle in at home, and people that we're reaching out to for future podcasts as well. So stay tuned. Give us those thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and remember to leave us a little comment. That way we can write you something nice or ridiculous back. Let's see. We lived in curved space. I would, yeah. We live in curved space. I agree with this. There are lots of beautiful curves around. I believe that's what we're insinuating. Yep, they've run out of options. I agree with this. There's not too many. No more levers they can pull to try to make the machine keep walking. Get rid of the Fed. That's not really. It's never really. The only thing I would disagree with about the idea of getting rid of the Fed is it doesn't solve the problem. Again, that's why the transition is important. Is you don't just get rid of the mail service. You replace it with a better product and service, and that's how you do it. The same way you would get rid of a government isn't by getting rid of a government, it's by offering a better service. And that no one's really taken up that competition space. And I don't think you'd ever say you would want to, because I don't want to be a politician, but we should all... Anyways, hopefully we figure it out. But I don't think it's by getting rid of things. I think it's by creating solutions so that they're not a thing to get rid of at all. Anyways, if that makes sense. It's kind of like a medicine before you get sick. That way when it also solves the problem at the same time if you happen to be sick, which apparently the society is at one of those moments. I'm not going to agree. Oh, here we go. Martin Daly says, buy Bitcoin, gold, silver, and store your wealth. I would actually put property and business in those categories too. I think productive purpose is always extremely valuable. It's probably one of the, I mean, come on, it's like the most valuable asset we have is to use the skill sets to do what we love. So I think practicality wise in a portfolio, I like investments in businesses, even if they don't scale super big, as long as they can keep running, that's great, perfect. You know, if they can scale, even better. Where is home? We are in Costa Rica again. Thankfully, it was such a long trip home. But KLM's business class was pretty good. I actually had a great time. Met some wonderful people on the flight, which is always a huge plus. We made some friends that work in the impact investing space. A great company called Viva, which is super cool. So Viva Idea, we're gonna chat with them. They own a bunch of kind of non-profit companies between Argentina and here that are actually not just non-profit companies. They've done a really cool, I mean, this is all in Spanish, so I'm not sure any of you guys will be able to read this. But for those of you that like working in the Spanish world, this stuff is super cool. Check out Viva Idea. We're going to be hopefully doing some, speaking at one of their conferences, and hopefully joining just to learn as much as we can about the space. So these guys have built companies that essentially teach music around the world by bringing in particular types of teachers, usually people that have a broad background, and they've been very successful. I think the one school that they had started has schools in maybe 10 different countries between Argentina and Guatemala. It's absolutely fascinating stuff. So really, I was really excited to have the family that was sitting next to me working in this space too. What a serendipitous and synergistic connection to come across. 30 something chatting more and doing some video stuff with Viva Idea here, and at least for anyone else that is interested in this space and knows how to speak Spanish, it's definitely worth checking out. Or even if you don't, the documentary that they show is pretty cool and documental here. It's all subtitled and stuff. It's a really cool story. Anyways, that's totally besides the point. I got a little off track there. I'm sure none of you care about the VC equity space. No, that's not true. I'm lying. We all do. We all like the growth of smart products and services, and there's a lot of answers to questions, and a lot more questions. So that was the question to where is home. Yeah, that's what that was. What if the V bottom never comes? Everyone expecting less probable to happen. Look at the stochastic and the monthly, nearly the bottom historically. Yeah, bottom historically. So here, Batman, here's my argument to that. Bottom historically was over the last 10 years of bull market when they did nothing but print money, which it does. It injects capital everywhere into the world. They just said, okay, no more liquidity. We're just going to print off and build as much as we can. Let everyone have debt. That's That doesn't bode well when that turns off. It went up massively, but so did the QE. Did follow the stock market exactly. So the fact that we're seeing these these downturns not too far off, it doesn't. I don't think it bodes well until the U.S. fiat dollar system starts to shake and crack, and I believe that the exiting entry points from the stock market will move to the strength of the dollar for now. Anyways, that's a more abstract conjecture. So I'm just pontificating. Now I'm just pontificating. Exactly what it is. Okay, so let's see here. I'm gonna close the show off here. Everything's gone mostly philosophical because we're asking about where I'm living. So that's good. I love that. I absolutely love living in the jungle. Wake up with the sunrise, dig some of the greenhouse out to get this earth ready to plant seeds. Super grateful to live in the jungle. Okay, let's take one or two more questions because we're talking about mostly life stuff, and which is beautiful. But let's see. Has altcoin season started? We had a spike back when we were still at $6,000 that I was very hopeful for because I was looking for the first trend breakout in that area, and then it was very quickly reversed. It was it was just a blip on the radar, and I got excited because you want to be optimistic. It's a better life to live in with hope, I think. In general, that's why the optimism. Everything's great. Has altcoin season started? No, but the ability to hunt out the ones that we're interested in is becoming a lot clearer, which is good because it's easier to hear through the noise, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I'm sure that makes sense. So when it starts, it's basically just going to follow Bitcoin. So let's use Ethereum, for example, right? So we look back at Ethereum here. Ethereum had some rocket ship moves, right? Now, even though we're down from an extreme high, that previous bounce that pretty much correlated identically to Bitcoin's bounce between, what was it, around $80 and $170. This is a massive move to still be playing on the bounces, and this is that speculative value being left on the table that we had mentioned at the beginning, was that if you're a surfer and you like waves, you're going to play in the waves, right? Yeah. If that's what you're interested in doing, then that's a great thing to do because those are massive bounces. It's not. You could say it's a bit more like gambling. I consider it more educational. That's because every win you notice and every loss you also notice. I mean, investing in a space, moving in, and then exiting instead of just hodling. It teaches you very key aspects about trial and error, and learning the style that you're interested in doing, because it takes a lot of work and effort and energy to stare at charts all the time. When what I like about business is the purpose that it responds. There's not a whole. The purpose that I like about this is that it's fun for me. I like all the colors and the ideas and all these mathematics. I mean, it's beautiful. It's like viewing human emotion in a very analytical way. And for me, that's kind of peaceful to some degree, but it's also very, it takes a large amount of your time and energy to be like a trader. So I don't normally play these moves here. Like we saw massive growth last year. So most of the next bear market is, okay, if you want to take advantage of these are possible, definitely. Not financial advice. I don't suggest anyone do anything. But at the same point, I think highlighting the entrepreneurial spirit, the storyline that's going into all this stuff is key for us. So I'm going to continue to build on that kind of philosophy, because I think it's much more, and let's use the word entertaining and informational, than just to keep doing charts all the time. So we're going to be going out. We're volunteering at one of the local wildlife sanctuaries here. We're going to be going out and visiting some animal conservation efforts that work mostly with turtles. So it'll be really exciting to start to build that up more and talk about stuff like Viva. So we're working on. We recently chatted with the guy with Masha Drakova, the woman VC who started her own venture capital fund. Super cool story. We would also try to email like Valentina Zarkova for anyone who knows that name. So it's fun. We've got Charles Hoskinson on the list for someone we're going to try to reach out to, just because I want to have a bit more of a techie conversation. And then we're going to have Tyler Jenks back on the show. Some of you guys, the business that he still works, the space and niche that he still works in, and I'm super proud of him for. Guy just got married. Congratulations, man! Super excited. But the marketing and advertising industry, for those of you that like something, that's a way to earn a living nowadays, is just by liking something and becoming interested in learning more and then sharing more about that topic with other people. It's like a great human endeavor too, to communicate value and share information. Anyways, that larger, more abstract part of the story. Oh yeah, we've got Max Egan. I hope I'm saying that right. As well, hopefully in the next week or two. So we're just gonna keep bringing from random eclectic guests in as many spaces as we can, because we love asking questions and learning more about the interesting people that are doing cool things on the planet. And then obviously, again, growing that core model of. Yeah, so I guess it's kind of it's going to be a channel pivot. Likely what we'll do is make the show kind of consistent at one time for the charting, very brief, blang, 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 quick updates, overview on the markets. We're going to include a lot of that, I think, more so in the newsletter. And then the other big chunk of it will be going to do the humanitarian and conservation support. With your guys' help, we'll start to reach out to you guys more and get your input. For now, we'll likely be working with Viva Idea, just because they bring so many projects to the table for us, and it's in our backyard, essentially. Oh, who's calling? Let's try that again later. So thank you guys. This was, I had no particular direction with the show this evening, so it's just me sharing my thoughts. I was late. I totally missed the time earlier. Because I was hanging out with a friend. So that's what happens in the jungle. But anyways, we're gonna find a way to. We're just gonna do this all the time. I don't know what the heck this is, but we're gonna continue to do it, and we'll make it grow from there. So thank you guys for all being so supportive. I know it's very eclectic content that we run here over at the Arcane Bear, but with this name, would you have expected anything else? Arcane Bear, ladies and gentlemen. So again, if you guys haven't yet, join the Telegram channel. Lots of great people there. Again, thank you for being so supportive of my the eclectic niche content that we like to produce. It means a lot to me. The Arcane Bear family has been very moving in the direction that we get to go in. Like we're gonna be visiting so the rehabilitation center that we're gonna go work at once a week here, just because they're basically help rescue leave those animals, but there are some learn more about these. My dad and learn for the doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. We need the world to be a better place, so that's kind of the mission. The other things will come. We've seen it work, so it's just about being patient, Bear family, and we're grateful you're patient with us. We will see you on the other side.